Hey there, we're back.
Okay, we're
Maybe
back.
here, a little technical difficulty this morning, but I think we can figure it out. Even though I'm usually a little bit better at lasers than I am Facebook Live. But
Yeah, so hopefully you can hear us now. We're sorry we're late here. We might need to take a class or something. So, hey,
yes, looks like
just
we're
to
on. All right.
recap what we talked about, it is Red Friday. Every Friday should be Red Friday since the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. The draft was last night. We took a running back out of LSU. They won the national championship. The guy looks really good. Thought we'd go defense, but you know what? Our offense is amazing. And so we thought it would be a great time to talk about all things red because we deal
think so.
a lot with reds in aesthetics.
We do, and I deal with a lot with reds in my own personal life. And you also have some reds that
We have a
come
lot of
up
reds.
every once in a while. So,
Well,
yes,
not just
red is
that,
something
but
that
we
a
have
lot of
red.
people-
Red happens to be
Well,
this
my favorite
lady's
color.
favorite color.
So that's good.
She went to University of Utah, which is red. She's a huge Cardinals fan, which is red. She's a huge Chiefs fan, which is red. I went to KU, red and blue. I went to Lawrence High, actually red and black. And the Chiefs, red. So red is
I think we're a red
awesome.
family.
Yes, we love it.
Yes.
We love it.
All right.
But we do want to talk about the reds that we deal with in aesthetics because there's a lot between leg veins, rosacea, cherry angiomas, facial flushing, little telangiectasias, and just talk about how we deal. And it's funny because a lot of people think of sun damage as brown, but really,
Right.
sun exactly.
And I mean, I think, it's like you look at golfers and tennis players and, one of the things that makes rosacea the worst is being outside or just body heat.
In
It
the
could
sun.
be, the sun, number one. But, working out all the time can make your reds worse. Not that I want to give that up, but it is one of the triggers for rosacea. I mean, there's just so many triggers to rosacea. So maybe we should start with that. Like all of the triggers.
The
Like,
triggers. I mean, you think just going hot to cold. Some people, obviously, alcohol, drink wine, whatever, facial flushing. And the thing about rosacea, which is really interesting, is rosacea is a chronic condition that there's no cure for. And I know that sounds bad, but unfortunately, it's just something that we manage. And the statistic probably 80 to 90% likely to have at least some form of rosacea. I'm a perfect example. I have Scandinavian and I have German as well as a bunch of other stuff, Italian, so I have darker skin. But if you look at the Irish, the English, the Scandinavians, the Germans, it's very common to have that. It's just it's something that in that heritage you're going to deal with. As you get farther south, the who are the 100% Italians and African Americans and Indian stuff. Very rare do you see rosacea in that kind of demographic.
Yeah, so so we're talking about kind of background and who are the people that are more likely to get it, but then just in a normal everyday life. So for you, when do you notice that your skin gets redder?
Well, sun for sure. I have fairly dark skin, so I don't burn, but I have a ruddiness. It's not like I just have red here. The typical rosacea a lot is that T-zone, red cheeks, red nose, a little bit here, a little bit here. Mine is more, it's more here, but it's more full face. So yeah, and then I think hot to cold in the wintertime, you can see it. But mine is mainly, well, it's kind of there all the time, but exacerbated by the sun.
Definitely, and I think too, I mean, when we would go to Chiefs games, the really cold Chiefs games, it would flare my rosacea every single time.
Yeah.
So to your point, weather changes definitely can make rosacea worse. For me, exercise, whether I walk up 2 stairs or 200 flights of stairs, like
Flush a
I
little
am
bit.
red. I look like I've never worked out a day in my life. Like if my rosacea is at that point where it's just always showing. Fortunately, I may be able to manage my rosacea with treatments that we do in aesthetic care, but otherwise, like I always look red, and it doesn't matter what type of exercise I'm doing.
Oh, you have
So-
a place that that treats reds?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, right here.
Share
Happy
that
we
with me,
hopefully get to open soon.
Yeah, there you go.
But so exercise for sure, hot showers, hot saunas, hot Bikram yoga, anytime you're making your body hot, for any type of reason, it can make your rosacea or trigger your rosacea. So other things like spicy foods,
Yes.
sadly, alcohol, very common trigger.
Well, and you've got different types. A lot of rosacea. Mine is just kind of a redness, and you do see some small vessels. Some people have very distinct rosacea. Some people have acne rosacea with acne. But the good news is this: for years, it was just topicals. It was things like Metrogel was very popular with dermatologists. And I got to be honest, if you talk to most derms, they say, works a little bit, but not that great. And then in the late 90s, if you remember when intense pulse light first came out, IPL, and they realized after they were able to kind of tweak that this may be the best treatment for reds. And it really has turned into the gold standard for treatments, and then it can also be used as a maintenance. So what we recommend for somebody who has significant rosacea with BBL, broadband light, is a series of 5 treatments, once every 2 to 4 weeks. And you're going to see improvement each time. There's no downtime with that treatment. Your rosacea will look temporarily look a little worse. But then if that, depending on the level of rosacea, just a few treatments, maybe 2 or 3 a year to maintain that.
Right. And by getting worse, I mean, for me personally, it looks worse when I leave the treatment. But by that night and by the next day for sure, it's already looking better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just there's such a quick, turnaround in terms of results that, it's to your point, like I've gone through my series. I went through my series years ago. I figured out, okay, I started with the flushing and blushing. I would blush even when I wasn't nervous. I would blush over just the silliest things. And then it went from that flushing and blushing into rosacea where, I was just kind of red all the time, or red when I would do exercise and things like that. So I went through my series of rosacea treatments, and now I do a few a year. So, and they're in combination with other like the beauty of the BBL treatment, which we haven't really kind of put it all together yet, is that it treats not only the redness in my skin, but the little sunspot that comes up from that summer. Yeah. And it's also the whole anti-aging and preventative treatment that we'll talk a little bit more about today as well. But so once you go through that series, then you're just managing it. So I know that if we've got really cold Chiefs games coming up and I'm going to be out in the freezing cold weather, even though my face is covered, my head's covered, my rosacea is going to flare. And so then I'll schedule my treatment for the next Monday or Tuesday, and it just shuts down the rosacea. So really it's just kind of then looking at when are your vacations coming up? It's probably going to flare. What do you have going on in your life? And that's one thing that our team is so great at, is looking at your life over the next 3, 6, 12 months and deciding where should we place those treatments so that you're not like scrambling to get in once it's flared. And Mike Van Litten says you look very handsome today.
Oh, well, the red, the Chiefs. It's hard not to look good with Chiefs gear on. So yeah, and the again, a lot of people, it's spot rosacea, other people full face. And the other thing, a lot of people, you'll see the redness on the neck. Now, that's not called rosacea. The actual medical term for it is called poikiloderma of Savant, long word, for basically sun damage on your neck. But a lot of times when you look at the sides of your neck, if you look right underneath your chin, the skin is really good. And then right here, for me especially, because I like to be outside, play golf and do things outside, it's not just, some people are brown, but for me, it's a lot of red. And we can still use BBL. We can use, you talk about the other treatment we have that's so good is using a 1064 and a sweeping motion, the photo revelation.
Sure. So we have a couple of different treatments that we can use for treating reds, and we would choose based on, well, a couple things. One, when are you coming in during the year? So if you are someone that does still love to get a tan in the summer on your face in the area we're going to be treating, then BBL isn't an option for you to have that treatment in the summer, even though your rosacea is probably flaring during the summer. Now, I have clients that they'll cover their face with sunscreen in the summer. They may tan their bodies, but because they don't have a tan on their face, you can still do BBL as an option. But we do have a newer technology. It's called Clear Silk, and actually we have 2 different lasers that do the same treatment. It uses a wavelength, a certain laser is called, it's a 1064 nanometer wavelength, or an Nd:YAG. It's very common in our field. And what it targets, or what it gets absorbed by, is oxyhemoglobin, or redness. Just redness in the skin, blood. So, like the street outside in the summer, that black asphalt street absorbs all that summer sunlight and heats up really fast, and that white concrete sidewalk doesn't heat up. The blood, or the flushing and blushing, that redness that you see in your skin absorbs that energy. And so there's some changes that happen because of that. And yet the skin is perfectly safe and perfectly normal. So I really love that treatment because, number one, you can do it anytime during the year on tan skin or non-tan skin, or Caucasians or African Americans. Like, that technology can be used across the board. There's also, with it, there's not, it's in terms of like, because again, the questions I always get is, does it hurt? And is there downtime? Yeah. So it doesn't hurt. I mean, the technology, I always say it's kind of dancing on the skin, but you choose a section, so let's say over here on your cheek, and it's just kind of moving back and forth. and it slowly starts to heat up. So it starts on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most extreme heat and pain you've ever felt, at a 1. And it starts to warm up. It kind of feels like a hot stone massage. And then the client completely controls that treatment, meaning they say, okay, it's hot, and we move on, because it never should be painful. And so we get feedback from our clients that say, once they get to that hot point, we know we're done. And the other beauty in that device is that there's a temperature reader on the handpiece.
Right, so it's safe.
Right, it's safe, but it's also giving me clinical endpoints. So I know that once I hit that 41, 42 degrees Celsius, we're at a good point. I see the erythema or the redness in the skin, so it's getting a little worse before it gets better, which is what we're looking for. And so my point with that is that the technology's just gotten so smart that it makes it so much easier for us to get amazing results without the complications that we've seen in the past.
Well, and another nice thing is when we treat rosacea with BBL or with Clear Silk, you get other benefits. Tightening of the pores, like I said, brown spots with the BBL. So it's not just the rosacea. Now, it's funny though, because rosacea is a little bit more stubborn than brown spots. So if you came in and you had a bunch of browns, those really seem to be a lot easier. And so we usually recommend a series of like 3 Forever Young BBLs and then maybe 1 or 2 a year for maintenance. Rosacea, it's going to be a little bit more of a process. That's why we recommend a series of 5. And again, you can do those once every 2 to 4 weeks and then maintenance after that.
But I think part of the process, sorry to interrupt you,
no.
But part of the process is that the person having, the client, the patient, is also partially responsible for the result.
Oh, yeah.
So if they have the treatment and they leave the clinic and they go work out, which is a trigger, they drink their red wine, which is a trigger, they have a hot shower that night, which is a trigger, they're not going to get as good of a result as if they could have held off on those things
for a day or 2.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just 2 days. That way the body has time to do its job and to clear out the red. And so, that's one of the reasons why, okay, we can't knock it out in 3 treatments. It's because there is some give and take. They are responsible for a portion of their treatment.
Well, and just the colors, and as Kathy was saying, you can't walk on a black pavement in the summertime. So a brown spot is going to absorb more light than red is. And so browns, we can kill those off a little bit sooner. The reds absorb a different wavelength of light, but they're not as dark, so they're not going to absorb quite as much. But I will tell you that it is, if you talk to, we work with some very good kind of world-renowned clinical dermatologists, and they all say the best treatment for rosacea is the BBL, the Forever Young BBL.
Oh, by far.
In fact, there's a center in Dallas, it's called the International Center for Rosacea, and that's all they use.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's my all-time favorite treatment for a number of reasons. But
so the reds, think about the reds on the face. A lot of women look at their chest. They have browns, but they have all these little vessels and reds on their décolleté area.
I've treated patients, and they will be getting a hair removal treatment, which will trigger their rosacea, and it's triggered it from their arms, their chest, their neck, all the way up to their face. They'll blush.
Yeah.
So I think I've had clients that have the redness down their arms. They have the redness on the neck and on the chest. So if you see that redness, that is an indication to you that this would most likely be a great treatment. Now, obviously, we want to do the consultation, make sure you're a candidate. But if you do see that redness, it just works.
Yeah.
So BBL, again, that's one of the reasons why we love it so much, is because it works.
The other thing, if you've noticed, there's a thing called a cherry angioma. And if you look at your skin, almost everyone has some, just looks like a little red dot. Some bigger, some smaller, but usually it's kind of even a bright red. And I get them all the time. And that's another thing that we can utilize 1064 or BBL. And I got to tell you, a lot of times that's just 1 or 2 treatments. That can be and a lot of times we'll treat that and it immediately goes from red to black.
It's so fun.
It's kind of like a video game.
Satisfying.
Coagulates that and then eventually it just goes away. So, and those will show up on chest, abdomens, arms, legs. And so that's another thing we see.
Yeah, so we just got a question from Samantha. Hey, Samantha. So do you have to have brown spots or rosacea to have Forever Young BBL?
Great question. And the answer is no, because listen, the history of IPL and BBL was all based on reds and browns until some very smart derms put together a protocol, which is Forever Young BBL, studied at Stanford, and they show that BBL, Forever Young BBL, literally is the only treatment that they've seen clinically through studies that causes the genetic expression of the cells of your skin to go backwards. We joke around, called our Benjamin Button treatment. So Forever Young BBL is good for reds, browns, pores, fine lines and wrinkles, laxity, just textural issues, reflection of light, but also it's one of the best anti-aging tools we have.
For sure. It's, you look at the photos that they they kind of based this study off, that kind of gave them the idea to do this study. And it's so incredible because it's all of these women and men that have been going for a BBL. At the time we called it BBL, but a different protocol now, Forever Young BBL treatment, for 8, 10, 15 years. And they did it 2 to 3 times a year for that long, that 10, let's say a decade. And their skin looks better
10 years, 11 years later, yeah.
And so now we've been seeing this clinically for so long, but we never had a study or a way to explain the whys or the hows. And to know that it was done at Stanford, how credible is that?
It's a long study, yeah.
And now to look and to be able to say, if you do this treatment 2 to 3 times a year for the next 10 years, you're going to look better at 50 than you do at 40, or 60 than you do at 50, which is such a powerful thing. And it's something, I have seen it clinically for, 10 to 15 years specifically with this technology, but it's such an awesome
we always
treatment.
talk, between the two of us, we've been in this industry for 45 years. It is the single best, Forever Young BBL is the single best no downtime treatment that I think has ever been developed.
Definitely.
And we did, a little Facebook Live or Instagram on BBL and Halo, and that's archived if you want to take a peek at that. But yeah, to answer the question, BBL, if you have fairly light skin, and that would be all the way down to Hispanic or Asian, Forever Young BBL is just as good as it gets.
Well, one thing I always like to talk about too is the difference in how our protocol is so unique at Aesthetic Care with Forever Young BBL. Why we do this 3-step process, because it really differentiates us from all the other clinics that are out there.
IBL
because
or regular
yeah,
BBL.
with photofacial, photorejuvenation, IPL, these are all similar types of treatments. You may go into 5 different clinics and have a totally different experience. One clinic may do touch the skin just right on the spots. One clinic may do, a pass over the face, but just once, and then you look at our protocol and it's so detailed and so thorough to where it's 3 steps. We're putting in over 300 to 350 pulses of light in the skin, which is what the study was based off of. And we're able to really customize that treatment to each client. So if they have rosacea and then some brown spots, we can do that. If they've got rosacea and their brown spots are up here, we can do that. If they've got brown spots and a little bit of red broken capillaries here or here, we can do that. Yeah. If they've got redness with some acne scarring, or it's just such a cool technology. And that treatment specifically is unique at Aesthetic Care in that too, we also added the Skin Tight at the end of it. And so Skin Tight is the 3rd step of that treatment that our providers follow. Maybe just kind of chat about why we add that in.
Well, because everybody, as we age, gravity pulls us down. We start to sag, and getting some tightening in that jawline, heat, thermal injury to cause contraction. It's just kind of an added bonus that we've done, and really works well. And we're not saying this to brag, but it's become such a foundation of our clinic that Aesthetic Care literally has done more BBL and Halo treatments than any clinic in the world. And I think it's because 1, we believe in it, and 2, our clients have seen such great results. So, and these are just a note price, a full face Forever Young BBL is $399. And again, normally we start, depending on your skin, a series of 3 to 5. And then after that, maybe 2 a year. That study you talked to, and we have a picture that we show people here of a woman who did 3 a year for 11 years. And at 49, she looks way better than she did at 38. And so it's amazing. But now another thing, Reds, and is leg veins. And, the studies show that about 60 to 70% of every woman is going to get spider veins. And about 40 to 50% of every man is going to get spider veins. So as we age and you start looking down, you see these little vessels that almost look like spider webs. That's the name. People will say, well, gosh, if I get rid of those, I got to have that blood flow. No, those veins are not working anymore. 90% of all your blood flow happens in your internal vascular system. Deep veins you'll never see. Every spider vein on your leg you could get rid of, your body would not miss a beat. The key is with this is you've got to have somebody who really understands leg vessels. We are very fortunate. We have a nurse here, Ardith Arman, who is one of the nicest human beings you will ever meet. I don't know if she's on right now, but she worked in a leg vein clinic for a vascular surgeon for 7 years before we were lucky enough to find this woman. She's taught sclerotherapy, which is the treatment that we use and is the gold standard for leg veins. And I will tell you, she is so good. If you watch her hands move, she's just so amazing these veins are little, of getting a teeny little needle in there, injecting a sclerosing agent, which kills the vein from the inside, and it just dies, and your body metabolizes it. She not only that, she understands the underlying issues, and we work with a couple different vascular surgeons that if it is beyond the scope of what we can do, Ardith will refer them to get the underlying issues solved, and that's usually called endovenous laser ablation for the varicose, the rope veins.
Right.
And then she can handle the spider veins.
Also Ardith worked in the NICU, and it's like I go give blood, and sometimes you get somebody great and sometimes you don't.
Not so great.
But to find a baby's tiny little vein.
Yeah.
I mean, so between that and working for a vascular surgeon, I mean, it's just, she's unbelievable. And her personality and her love for people, I think, just also is something that really makes her shine.
Yeah, and so what Ardith will normally tell, she'll do a consult. There's no charge for that. And most people have more than one. Some people just a few, and that's easy. But she usually set a little schedule where she'll see you 2, 3, maybe 4 times to get as much cleared as possible. Now, the thing is, the vein that is destroyed is gone forever. That vein's not coming back. It doesn't mean you can't form other ones. Sure. And so a lot of her leg vein treatments come and see her a couple times a year for the little touch-ups. Now, for leg veins, most of the people do this in the fall and winter because you're going to bruise and you're going to get a little what they call hemosiderin stain. And it can take a little while to go away. So it's a very popular treatment for Ardith in the fall, winter, early spring, and then it'll slow down a little bit in the summertime. Those treatments are $350 a session. She usually spends about 30 minutes, and she moves very quickly. And depending on how many you have in your consult, she'll tell you how many sessions you'll need.
So I know out there in the aesthetic world, there's different treatments that you can do for spider veins. And we have multiple lasers that also treat spider veins,
yes.
And yet that's not our go-to treatment. The go-to, if they're the candidate, is sclerotherapy. So why is that?
Because simply it works way better. We can use our 1064, we can even use BBL, and I'm not saying they don't work at all. They just don't work as well, and we always only want to offer the best thing. Sclerotherapy is extremely safe in the right hands, and so now I will tell you, for teeny tiny vessels, maybe a little what we call matting, we may opt for one of those. They may actually work a little better. But for spider veins, the gold standard has been for years, and nothing has replaced it, is sclerotherapy. And if you go to our website, greatskinkc.com, there's a section on sclerotherapy. And but if you come see Ardith, like I said, she's a wonderful human being.
And talk about satisfying. She sees what's happening as she's treating.
Oh, it's fun to watch.
It's amazing.
The minute the sclerosing agent goes into the vein, it just disappears. Now, it's a little bit false hope because it does come back looking a little, you can get a little teeny, it almost looks like a cat scratched you, a little swelling. And she'll have you wear some compression hose for a while to maximize the results. But the needle, people say, oh my God, it must hurt. That needle is so small, it looks like a human hair. It is teeny tiny. And so you feel a little pinch, but it's not bad at all. And she has such a calming demeanor, and she's just, you'll see. But come see Ardith if you have any leg veins, men or women, and she will take care of it. Now, we mentioned varicose veins. If you ever feel like your legs are heavy, restless leg syndrome, that they just weigh on you and you have a lot of leg fatigue, I'm telling you, and Ardith can set you up with a vascular surgeon who will do an ultrasound and see what's going on if you have varicose veins. And I have a good story. My cousin, a male my age, he started seeing these rope veins, but he started complaining of just his legs feeling tired and heavy. And now he lives down in Mississippi. I sent him to a very good leg vein person in Birmingham. He had his varicose veins treated. There's a new way of doing it. In the past, it was vein stripping. It was brutal. It was in hospital. Now they just insert a tiny little fiber up the varicose vein. Laser energy is applied. It kills it. Your body breaks it down.
And it's ultrasound guided, so they can see what they're doing.
It's so good. And I'm telling you, if you talk to him, he said it's day and night, how much better his legs feel. And look, I mean, they don't have that, but the feeling. So if you have that, it doesn't hurt to have a scan with ultrasound, and insurance covers that procedure.
Lorena says she can't wait to come back to our office again.
Oh, we can't wait.
I know.
We're just getting so excited. We think there's light at the end of the tunnel. We're really looking forward to our opening date and just getting things rolling and getting to a sense of normalcy. Now, there are some products that you might want to talk about that can help with reds.
Yeah, definitely. So, again, I was going to say I suffer with rosacea, but that sounds a little dramatic.
Look at her skin.
I have
She's not
rosacea.
suffering.
Well, I have access to, all
Good
of the
stuff.
best stuff. That's right. So there's a number of products that I love personally for rosacea. At Aesthetic
Or
Care,
if you just have red, flushing, sensitive skin.
Yeah, exactly. So just redness in your skin, rosacea, whether or not it's been diagnosed or not. And we've got a number of different cleansers for it, number of different moisturizers and sunscreens for it. But just to keep things simple today, I'm going to share some of my favorite with you. And these are all products that I use at home. So I use the Chamomile Facial Cleanser. So this is our medical grade Aesthetic Care brand. And chamomile is a very soothing ingredient. The first time I used it, you definitely smell the chamomile, almost like chamomile tea, which I personally love. And, at night, that's just calming and soothing.
Yeah.
So maybe it gets my brain in that mode. I don't know. But I fell in love with it because of that as well. So it does a great job in terms of cleansing your makeup off, but it's also very calming because of the ingredient chamomile.
Well, and on top of that, for me, who has very oily skin and might use a cleanser that's going to break down that oil, people who have a lot of rosacea and very sensitive skin, if you're using a cleanser that has acids in and stuff, it can be irritating and actually make your rosacea worse. So you do want a calming cleanser.
Definitely. I've tried a number of different types of products over the years on my skin, hoping that it kind of more of like the more aggressive exfoliants and things like that because, I'm aging. And so, but I would have problems with contact dermatitis and irritation and stinging and itching. And so for me, it really is finding the right products. And so these are some of the products that I love. And this is something too that we have in our shower. And so he can use it and I can use it and it doesn't smell really girly. So it actually works both for guys and girls. Yep. So that's a benefit for that as well. So another product that I love is called Vita Soothe, and this is an ingredient that has lipochromin in it. It's an antioxidant ingredient, so it really protects your skin against all the stuff out there that's damaging the skin. And so, it's hydrating. It goes on very smooth, and I would tell you there's kind of a slip to it.
You have a silky feeling.
Yeah, exactly. It's very silky. I'm dry and sensitive. So for me, it's a perfect combination because it goes on as a second step like a serum, but it adds a layer of hydration, and yet it also penetrates quickly enough that for someone like you that has oily skin, it would also work for you, right?
It's all skin types.
Yeah, it's awesome. So that's the Vita Soothe, and so that's just step 2. So I cleanse in the morning, and then I do the Vita Soothe serum, and then I follow with the Ultra Benefits. And this is, of course, again, one of my favorite products, but it's also part of the Aesthetic Care medical grade line. And this product also has the lipochromin, which is the antioxidant, but it also has some natural brightening ingredients in it. So, being in my 40s, it's like how to soothe my skin, hydrate my skin, but also lighten the sun damage that I started getting, in my teenage years. So it's a really beautiful combination of a moisturizer that calms the skin and also helps with brightening. So if you are doing those Forever Young BBL treatments, it's a great product to take home after that treatment. The other thing that I love about this is that it's in a pump. How nice is this? You just pump it up, the product comes up, you swipe it, and you put it on. It's just great. Not having to dig in and then maybe your hands are clean or not. And each time you're going into your container, which, is fine. Most of us have washed our face and our hands before we're dipping into our products. But I love, can you tell I love the pump?
And I tell you, I love the way it smells. That's a good smell.
It does,
very
right?
Clean.
So
very
again,
clean.
It's not something that's so fragrant that would overwhelm your husband. You could buy and share, although we don't really share moisturizer.
She's very picky about her products.
If I'm desperate and I ran out or something. So, but so those are 3 simple steps that you can use morning and night to cleanse, to treat, and then to moisturize the skin. And then, again, we were talking earlier, the number one or probably the number one issue that causes redness in the skin is the sun. And so if you're going to start with anything, it's a sunscreen. And so this is one of our favorites. We did a whole section on sunscreens the other day.
Last week, yeah.
Yeah, last week. And so, we all have, at Aesthetic Care, we all have our personal favorite. But so really what it comes down to is, what are you looking for? Do you want a sunscreen that goes on clear? Do you want a sunscreen that has a little color in it? And for me, I like the color because I don't wear foundation. I don't wear powder. I get a sunscreen that has a little bit of color, so that acts as a slight evener instead of having to wear makeup. And so this is a great product. It comes in one color, and somehow it'll work for you and it'll work for me, and yet we
I
are
have darker
so
skin, yeah.
different in the coloring of our skin. I don't get how that works, but it does.
It's magic.
It is magic.
Yeah.
So this is one of
But it's an SPF 40, and it is water resistant up to 80 minutes. So that's just good, developed by dermatologists. The Elta and the Tizol are really the premier sunblocks on the market. And actually right now, while we're closed, all our sunblocks are 20% off, and they can drop ship straight to your door.
Yeah, and Tizo is a sunscreen that we give out for post-fractional laser treatments like Halo. So, that if we're giving it after that treatment, that it does go on sensitive types of skin, and it's not going to irritate your skin. And our clients that have Halo love it because it goes on, and it kind of goes on like more like a mousse than a cream. It's a weird texture. You squirt it out on your fingertips, and it's like, you almost wonder if it's gone bad because the texture is so different than anything that you've seen. But once you start to move it within your fingertips, it just smooths out and really feels hydrating on the skin. So I like it for that.
Well, and then one thing, talking about reds, so when you come in for a consultation, many of you would know we have a Viscia system. It's a photo imaging system, and you put your face in this capsule. And one of the aspects of the Viscia is it can take all your reds and separate them out. So we can literally show every vessel. And then after we do treatments, we can show how these vessels diminish or disappear. So we want to be very thorough and show you exactly what's going on with your skin, and then how your skin changes using very high resolution photography with filters that show reds, that show browns, that show pores, show oil production. And it's fascinating. That Viscia is just fascinating. And there's no charge. When you come in for a consultation, obviously there's no charge. So.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best things that we do, just so that, because I think for me, when I have a treatment, sometimes I forget what I looked like before the treatment, although that sounds ridiculous.
We look in the mirror every day.
But yeah, you just kind of forget what was there a little bit. And so it's nice to have that before photo so that we can show you your progress along the way. And which, again, back to the satisfying word. I don't know. That's kind of what I'm into today. Is it satisfying?
There you go. Yeah. Well, we do a lot with reds. Most people that come in here when we analyze their skin, almost everybody have some reds and some browns. And I think we've got great treatments for both of those. And then the side benefit is when you're treating your reds, you get a lot of other benefit for pores and laxing and those things like that. So anyway, on Red Friday, we wanted to talk about reds. And I know sheaf season doesn't start till September, but I am ready already. And it's kind of bummed because obviously they don't have their mini camps right now. And hopefully they'll start on time. I think that's far enough away that we will. But the second round of the draft is tonight, and
I
then the
think
whole
he's
weekend.
watched the Super Bowl at least 5 times.
Well, it was a pretty good game.
I know, but I'm just saying.
It was a pretty good game. So,
and every game of last season, I think you've rewatched.
Well, there's no live sports going on, so what do you do?
Yes,
Anyway, we're so glad you joined us, and happy Red Friday to you. And very, very soon we're going to be open, so we're very excited and to get back to some normal life. So hope you all have a wonderful weekend, even though everything's a weekend kind of now. And just to let you know, tomorrow is this young lady's birthday. I mean, I'm not going to tell you her age, but we're about the same age. Just that close, aren't we?
I don't know if they believe you.
Yeah, they probably think I'm younger.
Yeah, probably.
So anyway, but happy birthday to this beauty, and we're gonna do our best to celebrate it versus quarantine.
It's gonna be great. Yeah. It's great always with you.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week. We're gonna do another Instagram Live on Tuesday, and have a great weekend.
All right. See ya.